Yeah, so essentially, what I've been doing since ninth grade is running a nonprofit organization, which is called Robotics for All. And the main mission of the nonprofit organization is just to kind of bridge the opportunity gap by providing free STEM programs in schools where students are come from underserved and low income backgrounds. That's quite frankly what the mission of the organization is for that. So the organization was I started this at the end of my freshman year, so April 2017 that was, and first year we basically ran one in-person class. Then I expanded it throughout my junior and senior year, and I believe that before the pandemic we had roughly 10 in-person locations at several states. So then the pandemic hit, and we just decided, okay, like initially it just seemed like it would be like a 6 week thing. I think we all like thought it would just be over really fast. So we just like screw it, let's just hold the fort until in person resumes again. But after it didn't seem like that was the case, we were just like, okay, now we actually need to shift to an online setting. So once he shifted to online classes, the organization kind of blew up over the summer. We went from about 30 volunteers to now we're at 200. So the organization has really grown simply because we've had access to so many more students and so many more volunteers from all over the country. So I think that that's really cool. Yeah. So the idea really came about with I volunteered at two places. The first being Citizens. It's like a Lego after school place. And then I volunteered that roughly throughout my eighth grade year. In ninth grade, I started at Reading Partners, which is a nonprofit organization teaching reading to students in underserved communities. And for me, the shift between going working at a program where parents pay hundreds of dollars for to a program where it's for free, I really saw the difference there. And I kind of thought, well, if I could teach reading to these students, why not teach things like robotics and programming, those kind of things? So those are just as important. I mean, as we can see these days, everyone's on Zoom. All the we cannot live without computers. So it's just so important. And I was like, I'm teaching reading. I think reading is great, but we also need to do other things. So I was really shocked to find out that there's not really much other programming in there that really taught anything specifically in the field of STEM. So I decided, now it's my chance to do something. I mean, I think it's impacted two main groups. The first, which is the obvious one, is the students. Since the organization started, and actually I should update these numbers since we just started a bunch of students. Since we started, we've taught over 1,000 students, and really, like I said, the growth has really been a lot in the lately in the summer because before the pandemic we taught 500, and now already what is it 10 months into the pandemic we already taught more than 500. So it's really been growing a lot. And the second group of people we've impacted is the volunteers, because we're providing workforce experience opportunities for volunteers during these times. And there's a lot of limited extracurricular activities, limited volunteer opportunities for students during these times, and we're really just trying to be a positive force in the community by providing students with workforce experience, teaching those, like those are all very valuable skills. So majority of our volunteers are high school and college students. I mean, what I do right now is just people skills, right? Like I'm interacting with people. I have meetings all the way until, but I know you guys are in Pacific time right now, so 10 o'clock here, 7 o'clock your time, and it's just about talking with different people and interacting with people. I think that's one of the hardest things, is that even if you have all the technical skills, you have all the knowledge, if you can't work with people, that's going to be problematic in whatever career you do in the future. Very few jobs don't require you to work with people. So I think for me personally, just learning how to deal with people, learning how to respect other people's ideas, even though when they might be different, learning how to be, like I said right there, being able to disagree, maintain your differences while still having respect for each other. I think that's incredibly important, and it's also a lot about teamwork, right? I think especially in later when we've been growing, I've definitely built a leadership structure under me, and I think that's really been valuable to learn how to deal with other people and um, kind of organize a team. I mean, personally affected me. I think I mean, it's been what I've been doing for the past 4 years. It's what I've been doing in my free time. It's been my passion project. It's been something. Uh, I mean, this is a big question to answer, because it's just impacted me in so many ways. First off, I've made so many friends. I have friends from all over the country right now. Like right now I'm in the DC area, and I just asked a friend who, one of the volunteers who lives in Maryland, if you have any good restaurant recommendations, right? So things like that. I think that's, like, it might be funny, but it's just like things, just being able to kind of build friendship and helping, and when you share a common bond. I think that's the first thing that's definitely had a big impact on me. Second off, I mean, I've learned a lot. I mean, this is not, a lot of things I've done are just things that you just cannot get in any other internship or anything other thing out there. It's just being able to lead a team, so forth. Those skills that I talked about earlier were definitely impactful. And it's also just, I think it's made me more compassionate about the community we serve. It's made me more aware of the education inequities. Living in Palo Alto my whole life, you're kind of shielded from the rest of the world. They talk about the Palo Alto bubble. I think that's real, and you kind of allowed me to break out of my shell and kind of just see the world and really become more engaged in the problem of education there. Okay, so I think in terms of that question, it's actually brought me to my interest. I would think that's the right way to it. Uh, I remember back in freshman year, I kind of like, okay, what the heck do I want to do? Do I want to become a programmer when I grow up? Do I want to do, what is it do I want to do? And I think this has really allowed me to explore many avenues, because you think about it as an organization, right? We have everything under the sun. We have curriculum development where you're developing programming skills. We have business development, things like that. So I think I've really, since when you started, I've done everything at some point in time. So personally, I think it's definitely helped me grow in that sense, and to help me realize what I'm passionate about. Yeah, I mean, things are further questions. It's just like I definitely still want to make it grow. And there's always a question of how do you bring it to the next level? Like wherever we are, that's always a question back in my mind, is like, what's the next step? How do we make the impact bigger? How do we grow? I think that's definitely a big thing here. And it's definitely about really trying to make bigger impact. And I think it's definitely like maybe a lot more curious about different things. Like even things like programming, where I don't consider myself a very adept programmer. I don't really know many programming languages. It's just made me more curious about things all over the organization. I think that's been incredibly impactful. Yeah, I mean, we're still growing. I don't see what will stop it from growing. I mean, we're still, expanding our volunteer base. We still have volunteers coming in on a weekly basis. Uh, I don't see there is to stop it. I mean, when you go back to in person, we've definitely decided that our model is going to be both in person and online classes. So at that point, we're definitely going to have a model of both of them together. And it's just really keeping up with the pace of our growth. And we have an incredible leadership team. It's not just me. We have 9 other board members in addition to me. Everyone is incredibly capable and incredibly passionate. This is not a one-man show. So I'm very confident that with our strong leadership team that we have assembled here, we'll be able to grow really fast. Yeah, I mean, I think there's always a feedback loop, and I think that's always something that I've personally been working on. Is that a lot of the times when I make a decision with my team, it's hard to realize the implications of your decisions when until you actually on the receiving end of it. Well, I think improvements I definitely see, like in terms of making decisions, really making value-based decisions and really trying to consider all aspects before kind of jumping into them. Another thing I'd say is also um, prioritizing quality over quantity. It's often it's often easy to get into that groove where you're just like expansion. But when you really have to look into it, you really have to see, am I actually doing what the company is trying to do? Is that my bottom? Am I really reaching my bottom line? So I think sometimes stepping back and looking, hey, like my programs actually really being effective? What can I do to improve those instead of just doing growth? Because growth is exciting. It's very tempting to just keep on growing. Really trying to hold back that impulse. I think that's definitely something I could improve on.